Kenya is on the brink of a political earthquake. Right now, the ground is shifting beneath our feet. The word alliance is not just trending, it is the single most powerful force reshaping Kenya's future. This isn't about social media chatter. This is about raw, real-time political realignment that will determine who leads this nation, what policies are enacted, and how every single Kenyan lives for the next decade. Stay with us. This is a deep dive you cannot afford to miss. To understand why alliance is the word of the moment, we must rewind the tape. Kenya's political history is, in many ways, a history of alliances, often fragile, always consequential. The roots of today's maneuvering stretch back to the seismic shifts of the 2002 Rainbow Coalition, which united opposition forces to end KANU's decades-long rule. Then came the fraught government of national unity after the 2007-2008 post-election violence, a forced alliance that stabilized the nation but deepened ethnic fault lines. The 2013 Jubilee Alliance brought together Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, a pact that seemed unbreakable until it spectacularly fractured, leading to the handshake in 2018 between President Kenyatta and his former rival, Raila Odinga. That handshake created the Building Bridges Initiative, or BBI, and fundamentally rearranged the political board. Now, with President William Ruto in State House, the cycle is turning again. The key players are familiar, but the game has changed. We have President Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza Alliance, a coalition built on the hustler narrative, now facing immense economic pressure. And we have Raila Odinga, the veteran opposition leader, who after the 2022 election loss appeared to be at a crossroads. The timeline is critical. In early 2023, protests over the high cost of living began, organized by Mr. Odinga. By mid-2023, talks of a possible handshake with Ruto were whispered, then denied. But in recent weeks, a new and more shocking narrative has exploded, not a handshake with Ruto, but a grand opposition alliance against him. This is the context. A nation weary from economic strain, a political class in perpetual motion, and a constitutional clock ticking toward 2027. So, what is actually happening? According to multiple sources, including confidential briefings reported by The Nation and The Standard, there are active, high-level negotiations to forge a pre-2027 super alliance. The core objective? To present a united front to challenge President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza. This isn't just about Azimio la Umoja. This is about bringing together a fragmented opposition that includes Raila Odinga's ODM, Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper, Martha Karua's NARC Kenya, and crucially, reaching out to disaffected leaders within the Kenya Kwanza fold. Names like Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, who are technically in government but whose parties have a history of rivalry with Ruto's UDA, are being mentioned as potential long-shot targets. The official statements have been a masterclass in political ambiguity. President Ruto has dismissed the talks as noise from busybodies, while urging focus on his development agenda. Raila Odinga has neither confirmed nor denied, speaking instead about the need for national dialogue and rescuing the economy. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has been more direct, stating publicly that all options are on the table for 2027. The key statistics tell a stark story. Kenya's public debt stands at over 10 trillion shillings. The shilling has lost significant value. Inflation, while easing, remains a daily burden. Youth unemployment is a ticking time bomb. These are not just numbers on a page, they are the fuel for political realignment. Expert analysis, like that from political risk consultant Dr. Mwangi Maina, suggests this is a calculated move. The opposition sees blood in the water, he notes. The economic headwinds facing the Ruto administration are severe and largely of a global nature, but politics is local. The perception of hardship is creating a window of opportunity for a coalition that can promise stability and a return to a more subsidized economy. They are trying to replicate the 2002 Rainbow magic, but the electorate is more skeptical and the issues more complex. But this story has multiple, conflicting perspectives. Within the purported alliance itself, there is no consensus. The first major hurdle is the age-old question: who will be the flag bearer? Raila Odinga, at 79, would be seeking the presidency for a fifth time. While his base remains fiercely loyal, there is a growing conversation, even within ODM, about succession and generational change. Kalonzo Musyoka feels it is his turn after years of playing the running mate. Martha Karua brings a formidable reputation for integrity, but a smaller national footprint. This internal tension could be the alliance's undoing before it even formally exists. From the Kenya Kwanza perspective, the narrative is one of desperation. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has framed these talks as a coalition of losers and tribal chiefs clinging to relevance. The UDA strategy appears to be to paint any new alliance as a return to the old, discredited order of ethnic mobilization and elite cartels, contrasting it with Ruto's hustler identity, which, despite economic struggles, still resonates with millions. Internationally, reactions are muted but watchful. Kenya remains a key strategic and economic hub in East Africa. Donor partners and foreign investors crave stability. A bruising, destabilizing pre-election period could spook markets further and slow investment. The deeper analysis of the implications is profound. If this alliance solidifies, it could lead to a dramatic two-horse race in 2027, potentially reducing the violent spoiler dynamics of a fragmented field. However, it also risks hardening political competition into a purely binary, winner-take-all ethnic calculus, as different communities line up behind the two giant blocks. Furthermore, it could paralyze governance. If Ruto feels an existential threat from 2027, his entire second-term agenda may become dominated by political survival, launching mega projects in key regions, using state resources to reward loyalty, and potentially undermining independent institutions seen as hostile. This is more than an election strategy. It is a recipe for how the next 4 years of Kenyan politics will be played. Now, let's get to what matters most, the impact on you, the ordinary Kenyan. This political chess game is not abstract. Its consequences are felt in your wallet, your job, and your community. First, the economic implications. Periods of intense political realignment create uncertainty. Uncertainty is the enemy of investment. Local businesses may postpone expansion plans. Foreign direct investment can stall. The government's focus may shift from solving the cost of living crisis to crafting political strategies, meaning long-term solutions to agriculture, energy, and manufacturing take a backseat. For the Mama Mboga, the Boda Boda writer, the young graduate, this translates to continued high prices for unga and fuel, fewer job opportunities, and a sense that the political class is obsessed with its own games while the country burns. Socially, these alliances are often framed in ethnic terms. As leaders negotiate behind closed doors, they are essentially making calculations about which communities they can bring to the table. This can resurrect old ethnic tensions and suspicions, creating a toxic, us versus them, atmosphere in the counties. The political ramifications touch every level. Expect intense lobbying for gubernatorial and parliamentary seats to be part of the alliance negotiations. County politics will become nationalized, with local races seen as proxies for the big presidential battle. What happens next? We are entering a prolonged season of rumors, denials, clandestine meetings, and public rallies that are essentially alliance auditions. The next concrete milestone will be watching which political parties attend whose functions and the language they use. A shared rally between Odinga, Kalonzo, and Kariwa would be a massive signal. A defection of a sitting governor from Kenya Kwanza to the opposition bloc would be an earthquake. What are the experts saying? We spoke to several for this report. Professor Macharia Munin, a historian and political analyst, warns against hype. Kenyan politics is a theater of the absurd until it is. These talks happen every cycle. The test is not in the announcement, but in the sharing of party symbols and resources. Remember, many of these same leaders have fought bitterly in the past. Trust is the scarcest commodity. Governance expert Dr. Mathoni Wanieki draws a comparison to the past. This feels more like 2002 than 2017. There is a sitting government facing tangible economic discontent and an opposition that realizes fragmentation is suicide. However, the 2002 alliance had a clear, singular goal: to remove KANU. Today, the goal is to remove Ruto, but the vision for what comes after is murky. Without a compelling, unified policy alternative, this is just a power pact. Predictions are divided. Some forecast a formal One Kenya Alliance-type declaration by mid-2025. Others believe the personal ambitions and historical grievances are too deep, and the alliance will crumble before it gets a name, leading instead to a crowded 2027 field that ultimately benefits the incumbent. The wild card, as always, is the youth. With over 75% of the population under 35, a coalition seen as a reunion of aging politicians may fail to ignite the energy needed to actually win. The key takeaway is this: Kenya's political landscape is in fluid, unpredictable motion. The trending word alliance signifies a desperate scramble for power in a nation under severe economic strain. Watch for the signals, shared podiums, softened rhetoric between former foes, and sudden policy agreements. But remember, in Kenyan politics, today's ally is often tomorrow's adversary. The only certainty is that the journey to 2027 has begun, and it will be a turbulent ride that affects every single one of us. For continuous, in depth coverage of this developing story and all the news that impacts your life, subscribe to Kenya News Update today for more breaking news.